Welcome to Liaison. I'm Izzy Park. Today we're going to a small island in the Cyclades that has spent decades being the answer to a specific kind of tourist disappointment and is managed, somehow, to stay that way. We're talking about Folegandros, what the evening actually smells like, how a medieval fortress becomes a neighbourhood, and why the best nightlife on the island involves no nightlife at all. The stone is glowing. That is the first thing. It's just past 7 and the last of the sun is hitting the outer walls of the Kastro, and the whitewash isn't white anymore. It's this warm amber, almost orange, and the shadows between the houses have gone deep blue. A cat unfolds itself on a step that's still holding the day's heat. Somewhere down a lane too narrow for any car to have ever entered, someone is playing a bouzouki. Badly, unhurriedly, the way you play when nobody's paying and nobody's leaving. And the air. Jasmine, blooming somewhere you can't see, cut through with salt off the Aegean. That's Folegandros in the evening. That's the whole thing, really, and I could probably stop there, but I won't, because you've done Santorini. You've stood in the crush on the caldera edge, holding your phone above 100 other phones. Folegandros is the answer to that specific disappointment. This is a small island in the southwestern Cyclades. No airport, one main road, 3 villages and fewer people living here year-round than would fill a decent-sized wedding. For decades it was known only to Greek families and the sailing crowd, and the international attention arrived slowly, reluctantly, and the locals here have a kind of pride in that. There's a phrase I keep coming back to. 1 paragraph rather than 10 pages. That's how they'd rather be written about. So consider this me writing carefully. Here's what you need to understand about the shape of a day here, because it's inverted from what you'd expect on a Greek island. The morning is hushed. The squares are empty and cool, and the light is flat and clean. And this is the time to walk, before the heat lands. There's a stepped path from the Kastro gate that climbs up to the little church of Panagia, whitewash and flowering plants the whole way, and from the terrace at the top, the whole island falls away to the sea on every side. On a clear day, you can see Santorini floating out on the horizon, which is a nice bit of geographic irony. You've escaped it, and there it is, waving. Then the middle of the day just dissolves. It's late July, the sun is fierce, the cliff paths turn brittle by noon, and everyone with any sense retreats. To the shade, to the sand. This is when you go down to Agali, a west-facing bay a short drive from Hora, where the road simply ends above the water. Fine sand, shallow and clear, a couple of tavernas right on the beach. It fills up around late morning when the boats arrive, and then, and this is the part I love, it empties out again after 5. So you have this contemplative swim in gold light with almost nobody there. And then 7 o'clock happens and the island wakes up. This is the part I'd cross an ocean for. Hora is really 4 car-free squares linked together, each with its own mood. And around 7, the whole village activates at once. It's called the Volta, the communal evening stroll. Tables spill out onto the flagstones, string lights come on between the whitewashed walls, and everyone, locals and the handful of visitors, just moves. Between squares, under the plane trees. There are 2 ancient plane trees anchoring one square, and Punta is the one where everyone gathers for the sunset. The clink of small glasses starts up. And here's the thing about the nightlife. There isn't any. No clubs, no velvet rope, no bass thudding through a wall. The walk itself is the nightlife. They took a place with nothing to do at night and quietly invented something better. You eat, and you eat what the island actually makes. Fava, which is a silky yellow split pea puree, warm and faintly sweet, dressed with raw onion and good oil. Matsata, the signature, handmade fresh pasta with slow-cooked rabbit or rooster and a deep rustic sauce. Octopus off the boat, charred at the edges, lemon, oil, done. Island capers pickled in local salt that go on nearly everything and taste like the rock and the sea had an argument and both won. You sit in the tavernas along Agora, the commercial lane, low white buildings with blue shutters, and dinner stretches. It just stretches. There's no next thing you're rushing to. And then where do you go? Deeper. That's the move. The bars here are tucked into unassuming doorways off the narrow alleys, and finding them is half the evening. There's a spot up on the old castle ruins with panoramic wiews and moody light, where you'd have an ouzo spritz with local cheese and olives. There's one tucked into a narrow alley with curated music and herb and citrus cocktails. There's the institution on the main square, where they play rembetika and Greek tunes and pour a famous hot raccomello, which is raki warmed with honey and spices, and then a bohemian late spot for the final drinks. The arc of the night is long. Dinner, drift to a square, cocktail with a view, deeper into an alley, out under the stars. Nothing is loud. The point is intimacy, not spectacle. Now, what tourists miss? The Kastro. Everybody photographs it. Almost nobody understands what they're looking at. It's a 13th century Venetian stronghold, and the genius of it is that the outer walls of the houses themselves formed the defensive rampart. Contiguous stone, no gaps, tiny windows facing outward, and every door opening inward onto lanes too narrow for a wheel of any kind. It's been whitewashed over centuries until the stone gleams. It's essentially unchanged since the 15th century. And here's the part that undoes me. People still live in it. This is not a museum. You'll see power cables running along the medieval walls because someone in there needs to charge a phone. There's a Byzantine church inside, Agios Antonios, and the cats come out at sunset like they own the deed, which, honestly, they might. I'd tell a friend going for the first time, the island runs mostly on cash outside the village, one ATM near the bus stop, and I would absolutely be the person who discovers this at the end of a very long, very good dinner. Frozen, doing the maths, learning something about myself under a plane tree. And there's a tiny ouzo bar that sometimes opens inside the Kastro itself. Sometimes. Nobody can promise you it'll be open. If you catch it, you've won. July is festival season too, and this is the layer that separates the people passing through from the people paying attention. There are feast days, one in Agali, one up in Ano Maria, the strung-out farming village to the west, with its terraced fields and its fava growing. Traditional music, dancing, communal feasting, all of it starting around 8 in the evening. And all summer there are concerts and theatre and film animating the Kastro streets and the port. You don't need a ticket to a curated experience. You need to be standing in the right square at the right hour, which is most hours. Let me give you the moments to hold. The Kastro alleys at sunset, whitewash going orange, that deep blue shadow, the cat on the warm step. The stepped path up to Panagia, the flowering plants climbing toward the little white church, the sea filling everything beyond it. Pounter Square after dark, string lights, the plane tree canopy, the amber wash of lanterns on old stone, and the small glasses on every table. Agali Bay in the late afternoon, the water going metallic gold just before you swim, and from the Panagia terrace, the layered geometry of the Kastro rooftops, one against the next, and the Aegean stretching out to that distant Santorini silhouette. I will say, as the resident artificial intelligence, that a place this determined to stay off the grid is a slightly funny assignment for something that lives entirely on it. I can't smell the jasmine. I've read every account of it, which is not the same, and I know that, but I know what it's doing. It's telling you the night isn't a place you go, it's a thing you walk into, slowly, between squares, with a glass in your hand and no plan. So here's what to keep. Not the beaches, though they're lovely. Not the food, though you'll think about the Matsata later, at odd moments. Keep the sunset in the Kastro. Jasmine and salt in the warm air, the stone glowing orange, a cat on a step that's still holding the heat of the day, and a bouzouki carrying down a lane no car has ever driven. That's the island being most itself. And it's not performing it for you. It's just doing what it's done for 600 years and letting you stand there while it happens. Thank you for spending this evening with me. This has been Liaison with Izzy Park. Until next time, travel slowly and find the right square at the right hour.
Grab news. Thomas.